I see. I didn't see anybody say nobody. Okay. Nobody in the room? Now let's do COVID. Did you combine both with COVID vaccine? No? Go ahead.
Hey, Tom, I do have one more thing on the vaccine, if
Go
that's
ahead.
okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. There is some confusion regarding teachers being vaccinated. The federal government has a federal vaccination program to vaccinate teachers, and not daycare through secondary school. It doesn't include the university system. And that is a separate program from where public health gets their vaccine. It's through pharmacies. Our pharmacy here in Dillon at Safeway is one of those federally qualified vaccine sites for teachers. So the teachers are allowed to get their vaccine through those sites. So if anybody's listening, that they can call Safeway. I know that they were sort of taken by surprise with this statement from the Biden administration. So it's probably taken them a while to get their processes in place, but they are able to do that.
Okay. Anything else? Pardon?
Oh, yes. Sorry, you think I'm...
Go ahead.
So we anticipate doing these clinics, like I said, every Friday except the third Friday of the month. So we've got several months to go on this. I want a list of volunteers that we can pull from, so we're not, we don't burn out our current volunteers. And we have some people that are coming every Friday. As the weather gets warmer, people are going to want to have that time to themselves. So if anybody is interested, if you know of anybody that would like to volunteer, please let them, or have them call Public Health at 683-4771.
Okay, thank you. Now, does that include both public health and COVID vaccination update? Correct? We did good. Okay, today we have the pleasure of the JCs are here, and on the agenda is discussion and action on the JC activities. I'd ask this woman to come forward to the mic if you would.
Just first, thank you guys for, I don't know if you guys scheduled this for us, but I know there's other things going on, so thank you for having a meeting this month. I know it's scheduled for April. We're here for the kickoff concert, and then the other guys will talk about the Derby, but the kickoff concert is tentatively scheduled for June 5th. And the reason why we have to kind of have an answer now is there's just planning, and it just takes time to book an artist, and with all of the advertising with them. Last year we booked it in March, and then everything happened with the pandemic, and we ended up having to pay a percentage of what we were going to pay them if they came. So we were out some money. We don't want to have that happen again. So I guess we were just hoping to have some open discussion with you guys. Just let us know what you think. If we can not necessarily take a risk to go forward with booking an artist, or if we need to wait. I talked to our booking agent, and she, all of her agency, what their concerts are throughout the state. I'm just going to run a list of what the rest of the state's plans. So like Bozeman, the county state fair, middle of July, and that's a month and a half earlier than ours. They're having 50% capacity. End of July in Helena, they're going to have 100% capacity. And Sydney, the end of the summer, is 100%. So this concert in June, it's a much smaller scale than the Labor Day concert. We're talking, we've never had 1,000 people there, so it's not a huge event. It's just something new, and we've been trying the last few years. So we've had 3 concerts. Last year we did 4. So like I said, I think the most tickets we sold 860 tickets. So it's outside, it's at the fairground. It's the same setup we do for Labor Day, but it's a much smaller scale than Labor Day. So.
Okay.
I guess if anybody has any questions, or what the next step would be for us, or
questions first from the board. Do you have any questions for JCs?
Did you guys have a plan for restricting tickets, or?
Well, I guess with the limited tickets that we've ever sold, I wasn't sure if we had to. I mean, we were able to have 1,500 at the rodeo last September. I mean, we would be very, very happy if we sold 1,500 tickets to the concert, which I just don't see it happening. I mean, we hope for 1,000 is what our goal is.
Did I hear you right? You said the maximum you've had so far is 800?
Yeah, 860 is what the max we've sold, so.
So, just thinking about that many people, and yes, with the rodeo, they were in the stands. Would these people, would it be mandatory for them to be in the stands so you could do social distancing, or the best you could do as far as social distancing? Or are they going to be allowed in the arena? You know, and as you know, there's not going to be any social distancing there.
Yeah, I mean, we hope for the arena, for this I would say 30% of the people that come to the concert, because usually it's a type of artist that they're a fan of, so they, people that do want to come, they actually want to listen to it. It's not a social event. So like I'd say 30% probably already sit in the stands to begin with. So, out of the 860, that would probably be we'd have 650 people in the arena. So, we could do some gates to set up some pods or whatever. As you guys all know, it's hard to social distance in the arena, so I guess we would be willing to kind of make an effort to set up gates, set up pods, but it may be difficult. And with our stage, it'd be hard, we'd have to have other costs to bring the stage into the middle of the arena, and it just probably wouldn't be worth our while to do that, so.
So you anticipate that, let's say, 600 or some might be on the floor of the arena itself?
I would say, yeah, that's probably a good guess.
Is there any way you could, I don't know, paint stripes or something just to try to encourage spatial separation of groups of people?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest thing we could do would be paneling. We
Yeah.
have those panels down there, so we could do panels and just make an X. I would say that would probably be but again, in those panels, I mean, you're still going to have a pretty good open area, so, and painting on the dirt, I don't know if that would really work, so. Panels would be our best bet.
You speak of a cross like this,
Yeah.
and then encourage the four-way split in a sense, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That would, for emergency services to get in and out in case there's access in and out for openings that way.
And I mean, the past concerts we've had, and just for this kickoff, I mean, you're not going to see the big group like you would at Labor Day. I mean, they're pretty spread out anyway. I mean, if you really want to, you could go to the front row without any hassle. I mean, we're talking very, very low key concert. I mean, it's very, very small compared to most concerts around the state. So,
What about the sizing, and would you recommend mask wearing? I know that this is a few months out, and as we get more and more people vaccinated, and recommendations are going to change, that kind of thing. But right now, masks are still one of our best things that we can do to keep our reduction down.
yeah, and we still have all the masks that we had for the rodeo. I mean, we still would be able to provide masks for anybody that would want to wear masks. And, I would say that most of the people that would come to the event, they're going to keep their distance just because that's what we've been used to for the last 12 months. So, and again, as the group, this is point A. We haven't really even planned. This was our first step. So, if you guys give us kind of the green light today, we have a meeting tonight that we can go forward with it. So we just wanted to make sure it was kind of worth our time, because this isn't like the rodeo. We can't go till May. This is the sooner the better.
With that said, go ahead, George.
And we sell beer out of the back of the arena. I think one concession stand open, so they would still have the same setup we used over Labor Day. So with the plexiglass and wear masks and gloves and that sort of thing. So yeah, we only have the one, and then we sell the beer out of the back. And like I said, it's very, very, very low key.
J.C.'s and Sue only have one concession stand.
No, we have
Well,
three over.
the hamburger kind of thing, but they'll just run one, correct?
We only opened one, yeah, because the other two, the first one where our building is, we've closed that one a couple years ago just because it was a safety hazard for the big concert, so.
Of course, the difficulty with this 3 months out is we haven't adequately polished our crystal ball to know what's going to happen by then. And so that really puts a fly in the ointment, as it were. I guess the one thing I would say this far out is that I would like to think you could still post, at the bare minimum, signs advocating social distancing, masks. I mean, plan to do all of those things that you did for the rodeo. Do whatever you can to encourage spatial separation. I don't know what else we can do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think right now, I think that's what we plan for, is being as safe as possible. And then say we get to the time frame and things are great, and we don't have to do that. I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
And it does seem like that's the trend. I guess I would just worry if we do have a spike. I don't know that we'll be able to anticipate that depending on how the variants go. It does still seem like we're doing better every week.
Sure.
So that would be my concern for you guys, is just that unforeseen spike that would make us more concerned about having the event.
Sure. And I think the social distancing at the fairgrounds and the signage, and that's just our new rule that we were all used to at this point. So I like I said, we didn't have any issues over Labor Day, and that's a much different crowd for what a concert, much crowd that wouldn't listen. So I mean, it worked out perfectly. So so this is, and like I said, I want to reiterate, this is a much smaller crowd. If we had 1,000 people, we would be tickle pink. So this is. And it's outdoors. I think so.
Okay, thank you. Nobody on Zoom? Okay. Anybody in the attending have a question for the J.C.'s?
Yeah, I do.
Rich does.
Okay, go ahead, Reg.
On the surface of it would be great to support the J.C.'s. They need the support. But at this stage, I think we have to rely upon what we've got. And what we've got is the CDC guidelines for folks that have been vaccinated. And those guidelines are still advising against large gatherings. And as far as looking into the crystal ball 3 months out, trying to come up with some kind of a prediction as far as where we'll be at that point. That's kind of hard, but the variants are out there. The news is probably not going to be that we're going to be in any better spot than we are right now, as far as the variants and the spiking. So, though on the surface it's something that you'd want to support, I don't think from a public health standpoint the board can.
Okay. Thanks, Rich. Mike?
Just to remind everybody, that would include the one on Zoom. CDC has no authority here at this point to say what it is the governor's verdict or order, and he pretty much said it's all up to personal responsibility. And so we could make recommendations, and that's what I kind of understood the board was going along, was recommending to do these things, but we have no authority to make anything happen, no matter what you think might be coming down the road. Which I think if the vaccines keep going, I really think it's going to be, you're getting really close to herd immunity, and that's what quite a few doctors are saying. Maybe not the CDC, at least not the ones in charge that are political. The rest of them are saying you're getting close to herd immunity. Maybe not for any new variants, maybe, who knows? And that's an unknown, but the rest is possible.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, my understanding,
I have, I don't think that should go unchallenged. I don't know of any reputable medical authority currently that's saying we're anywhere near approaching herd immunity on a national basis at this point. And as far as his point, I wasn't stating that there were any specific legal hurdles to the JC's proposal. Just stating that the CDC recommendations are what they are. So,
okay, thanks. Well,
Stephanie, I'm not sure last name, not her name.
who's that? Is it Stephanie?
Hi.
Hi, Stephanie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, it seems like Labor Day went really well for the JCs back, in the fall, and it didn't seem like we had any cases proven to trace back to that, and it sounded like this event's going to be smaller than the Labor Day events, and I feel like we know more. Our community does a really good job in, social distancing, keeping our cases low. People are now vaccinated. I feel like, there really wouldn't be too big of a reason not to allow this to go through, especially if it's not for another few months, and we'll just learn more and get more people vaccinated. So I support the JCs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further comments? Now, my understanding, and I understand business, I understand why you're here, just to get a green light to move forward. And we, like this has been said, we can make representations and sue and possible sanction. You worked well with the Board of Health before. We admire that.
Thank you.
So, is there a motion from the board to give the JCs to go ahead to at least pick an entertainer and get started on it?
Yeah, that's a major, we still want to be out the money we were out last year. It never got.
That's why they're here.
Yeah.
It's hard the deposits are huge for small town America. But now.
I'll move to allow them to proceed with the concert and setting the concert up, the recommendations to try to do what seems to be fit. I think you should prepare in a short period a plan on how you're going to handle what you're going to do, but with just recommendations, no requirements on it.
And that coming today also gives us plenty of time to plan. Again, this process with the rodeo started last year in June or whatever it was, so I said, we have plenty of time, so.
I'll second that.
I got a,
That's right.
Dina, thank you. I got a first and a second to, in short, give the JC's green light to move ahead. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none. Proceed.
Thank you guys again. And then also they want to talk about the demo derby too.
That'd be
so.
fine. Spokesman for the demo derby, please come forward. Would you introduce yourself for Cindy's?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the committee. J.M. Peck, I'm the 2021 president of the Dillon JCs. Sorry.
J.M. Peck, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'd just like to thank you on having us today, and thank you for your guidance and advice as we navigate this challenging world. And I would just emphasize what Jason has said. We're just trying to plan and be forward thinking. and be preparing for some things. Hopefully the world is improving in 3 months, but we want to be prepared nevertheless, and obviously have some business decisions that we have to make to be able to move forward. So I guess with that, I know the Demolition Derby would be our next event that we'd be hosting. We're planning to host that the last weekend in June. It's a little bit different structured than the concert, being that it would be more similar to the rodeo in the fact that our spectators sit in the stands, which would enable us to do something similar to what we did for the rodeo last year. We also expect a lot less people. I think if we look back the last 6 years that we've hosted the Demolition Derby, we tend to have an average attendance of around 1,000. So in common areas, I think that's also, that was something we struggled with last year at the rodeo, was just how do we enforce that, because that's not a very fun conversation to have with friends and neighbors. But I would hope that, between our signage and people just respecting that we worked really hard to put on the event, that hopefully people would respect, the rules and what we're asking. I know when you're talking about the concert, you mentioned, signage and just conveying that message. And I think we would do that the same as we did last year for the rodeo, that we'll plan to do for the concert, the spring concert, and then for the derby as well.
Now at the Derby, just from being there over the years, there's a concession stand scattered, correct?
Yeah, so we would typically, a little bit different from the rodeos with the smaller crowd, we would typically just run the 2 concession stands. So that's the one under adjacent to the grandstands, and then the one across the arena behind the crow's nest.
Yeah. Which would help disperse people.
Yeah.
Just that way.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say with that, I just, like I said, we're just here wanting to get in front of this. Really, thank you all for your time and having us today and allowing us to discuss this and giving us your feedback. And I envision moving forward, we would bring a plan similar to what we did last year for the rodeo, similar to what Jason's gonna plan for the concert and present to you at some point in the future. But like I answered your question, we just want to be here today to be in front of this, get it in front of the board, and so we can start planning and have some feelings on what kind of restrictions we need to have, and really just get the expert advice of the board members.
Thank you.
I think on behalf of the board, we appreciate you doing this in a proactive fashion.
Thank you, and thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Any other spokesmen? JCs, I assume, representatives of JCs. Any other things to be said? Yeah.
I guess I'm curious. Sorry.
That's fine.
And I don't want to argue, but I guess just since I was the rodeo chairman last year, what were the cases that could be turned back to the rodeo? I mean, was there a big spike, I guess? Did we do an all right job last year, is what I guess?
I can answer some of that. So we did have a couple of cases. They were not cooperative in identifying contacts. But the problem is you don't know who those people are sitting around you. As we started thinking of this, when this started happening, it's like there's no way to know who the contacts would be because they're from all over the place. Plus, we don't know who went home to other places and got sick. And that could be related back. So, no, I know a couple of cases, but we don't know really the fallout from it. I don't think it was huge, but I will assume that there was probably some that occurred from there.
It's pretty flat, I guess, for the most part.
Yeah, but we did throughout the state and the nation too, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because we didn't keep track of tickets and where they were from.
Yeah, and that would have been hard too because of confidentiality that we were faced with, and we've had big discussions about that too. So.
Thanks, Jason. Dan?
Just have some follow-up stuff. I guess I just have a follow-up question for you. So we did, we had an extensive effort to try and track as many names and contact information. Is that something? And we use a lot less sophisticated ticket systems for both of these events. Is that something that you would be asking us to try and do again? And I'm just thinking from a public planning perspective.
entirely possible. Like Sue was saying, people move around, and I don't know do you think it would help with contact tracing, Sue? Or?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Again, then we have to identify the names of those people to whoever to find out who sits. I mean, so there's some of that, that's the issue. I'm not sure it sounded great in concept, I mean, it really did,
I agree.
but I'm not sure that in reality it really worked. So I think just keeping the number, the pods, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Groups down.
Yeah, because I mean, we still have, probably 2 or 3 legal size boxes full of all that information, which was great, but I guess I agree with you in that. But thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Stacy, for coming in and again Okay, next is discussion and action in regards to the proposed, I guess, St. Patrick's Day event. On here, so I would let somebody. That's what I'm asking. Is there? I guess I myself don't know why it's on here, but go ahead. I'm just asking. Go ahead.
I wanted that on there because I think it is a Board of Health concern needed to be discussed. Whether there's any action brought on it. Probably not, but I think it needs to be discussed. And I don't know, Mike, if you want to talk about it, or you want me to start on it, or?
Well, why don't you just start on it? I'd like to jump in.
Okay.
Like
So, this event is a large event that's planning to take place at the Event Center on St. Patrick's Day, which is next Wednesday. It is a very large concert with 5 bands that will be inside the building. There will be 2 bars inside with a private bar for the VIP room. They initially wanted 900 people there. The promoter is from the Party Palace, promoter or sponsor, I don't know what the heck he is. Yeah, he's from the Party Palace in Butte. The reason they're moving it to Dillon is because Butte Board of Health is not allowing those types of events at this point. So they moved it here. No one was informed of this. It was found out through the grapevine. And so once that came out, we had Dillon Police, the mayor, the fire department, public health. Anyway, we went and spoke with the sponsor as well as Ron Johnson regarding the event and what they were going to do. There are definitely some concerns with this. For one, the event center at the time, and I don't know what the current status, so you can inform us on that, Mike, is it only had a permit for 300 people. The bathrooms, there's several things that needed to be done in the event center to sponsor a large gathering like that that have not been taken care of. Some fire concerns, those kinds of things. So our little group met and a letter was put together with the city attorney and the mayor and was sent to Ron Johnson to address these concerns and permits and that kind of thing. And I'll just leave it to you, Mike, to follow up on that part.
Well, right now, the status of the whole thing is really got no clue yet on the number. We talked to the state building inspector and the state fire marshal, and they've been talking to Ron Johnson. They're coming down Monday, and they're going to look and inspect all the stuff that's been done. Mr. Johnson has been working on the safety side of things. He won't have the restrooms done, but it sounds like the number is not as important. That for the restrooms as it is for the fire and the fire lights and all of that, sirens, the doors. He's got extra doors put in now. But none of that has passed inspection yet, but that will be Monday. And if it passes inspection, according to the building inspector, they're going to probably give them up to 900 people at that point, somewhere in that ballpark. Don't really know the exact number until then. It will only be a temporary one though, because he still has to do the restrooms. He won't have them all done. Right now they only got 2 restrooms, 1 stall apiece in each one male, 1 female. So, other than that, I'm not sure what else to say for you. I am more nervous. I'm not nervous with the JCs because it's outside, and everything that I've read on studies been done outside is like 100 times less likely to transmit. This is not outside. This is inside, totally with 1,000 people in a lot smaller area. Not sure what we can do, but it's probably not really a great thing to do right now. Not disagreeing with that, but.
Well, it sounds like we've got legitimate concerns in terms of crowding. If they've gone from a capacity of 300 and now they want 900, that in and of itself is a concern. You know, COVID aside, that's a concern. And I agree with Dr. Clacken that 900 people in an enclosed space, especially with vocalization, i.e. concert, I think this is a really bad idea.
I agree. I mean, I think that's the difference here. The JC events are outside. There's great data that outside there's much less transmission. And this seems very risky, especially since it's next week. We're still well within the pandemic. These things are months away. I think we should, I don't know what authority we have, but I do not think we can recommend this event to happen.
Now, he was, you don't mind me interrupting here. The person from the Party Palace, Ted Deschner, I think his name is, was supposed to produce a plan. But I don't know, have you guys seen it? I have not seen it. You know, so maybe you ought to contact Deschner, whatever his name, and ask for the plan. I think we can do that legitimately. I mean, because that's the governor's order says they have to have plans. Businesses have to have plans on how to handle the group and have it thought out. Maybe ask them. I would recommend to do that. I did that. I put that in the letter, and I still haven't got it. So,
myself, I'm curious. The JCs and the fairgrounds, that's outside, and past that point, there's numerous bathroom facilities scattered around the fairgrounds. But, and then with that said, and that amount of people, that, you know, you got 2 bathrooms, but there should be a chosen amount of outhouses, porta potties, you know, that the local people could provide to that area. Scatter them out to scatter the crowd, like when they go to the outhouse outside, or something like that. If you only have 2 bathrooms for that quantity, that will lead to programs right there.
and they're working a plan to have porta potties.
It was in that.
And so they're going to be there and place, the fire chief has put a requirement on it, that on a door that's a fire escape. Safety says you can't fence that off like they wanted to, so that's going to be a little change on what was discussed earlier, but they will get to use porta potties in there.
Yeah.
But again, that's going to be a temporary thing, not permanent.
That's true, but go ahead.
Kim Martinell has a question.
Okay, I have a person on the Zoom. Go ahead, Kim.
Hi, everybody. I just had a question. So it's my understanding that they're going to bus people from Butte to this event. So, and over 300 tickets have been sold already. Is that correct?
I don't know.
It's unsure right now on that. we get different answers when we talk to all these people, so I'm not gonna say this is a for sure thing. None of this is a for sure thing. Well, the stuff that our discussions with the fire marshal and the state fire marshal and the fire or building inspector, that's, I'm telling you what was told to me, but any communications from them, I'm not saying any of it's true, but the busing, we've all heard different things. It's either, he is gonna bring buses down. I'm not sure if he's bringing people down from Butte on the buses. That would make sense, but he also said he's just gonna bring the buses down. People were gonna drive down, park in the fairgrounds.
No.
Well, he told us that he got permission from, they called the,
They didn't talk to the county whatsoever about this fairgrounds. And so the fair board and the commissioners have met on that. The fairgrounds will be locked
okay,
Wednesday and Thursday.
okay.
So there'll be no parking.
So I have no clue whether they're
No
gonna
parking
park.
on the interior of the fairground.
But, and he's gonna bring down, he told us, a couple vans, and he was gonna transport people around from where they're gonna park with the vans to the place. That's about all I know. And it still could have changed even then, because he's given us no plans on exactly, besides talking, nothing on paper.
As far as public health goes, I absolutely do not support this event. I know the Butte Silver Bowl Health Department keeps contacting me and asking me updates on it because they are fearful that this is going to be a super spreader event. And people coming all over the state. They'll be partying, they're going to be in close proximity of each other. There's going to be dancing, that kind of thing. I think it's a bad idea, and I don't know what we can do about it, but I am very afraid that could be a huge.
Again, I don't know that we can stop this event, but I would make a motion that opposes this event for everything from COVID concerns to crowded concerns for safety's sake. I think we need to go on record.
A second.
I don't know if it need anything at this point. Anyway, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, go ahead.
George Ward, as all of you know, I've been advocating and I've informed this body amongst not only this body, but the city as well, that Butte Silver Bowl did not have the proper authority to shut these things down. Now, whether or not they've taken emergency action, I don't know. But if you had accepted some of my concerns on process, Butte Silver Bowl would now be dealing with this as opposed to Beaverhead County, because he'd be fighting them, as it would be publicly known that they didn't have the ordinances in place to restrict this. Now we're dealing with it because we're short distance away, and it's economically feasible for him to bring this event down here. So I just implore you, when I bring up process arguments, I'm not just shouting from the hill. There's reasons and consequences for these actions. And we wouldn't be dealing with this, paying the brunt of the cost and the trouble, because it's going to happen. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay. Further comments? Further comments? Anyone?
I do.
Okay, Rich, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a sad comment. If there ever was a formula to show the impotency of the the county health board and network with local government. This is it. We have an event that Butte Silver Bow, their health board, has basically declared to be out of bounds, and they aren't going to do it from a public health standpoint. So what happens? The great sucking sound that you hear is that event coming here because we have a vacuum. The county health board can't or won't do anything effectively to stop the event or in any meaningful sense regulate the event. So now we have an event that's a week out. We can't do anything about it supposedly. And as far as city government, fire, police, whatever, they in effect aren't able to do much to control the event. So this is a sad comment, and I'll just leave it there.
Okay, thank you, Rich. With that said, that you mentioned, Mike, a letter that was sent.
Well, he's called me and talked to him, describing how he's gonna handle it. And he promised he would, and he still hasn't.
Now, is that sheet of paper his response and the proprietor,
Yes.
the event center people?
No, it's just gonna be him.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe it's really Mr. Johnson's part of it if he's not putting the event on. But
But-
Mr. Johnson's not, it's only the Party Palace guy.
And the party felt this, my concern was the outhouses. Who's responsible for those?
Well, that'd be Mr. Johnson.
I have more, how would you say, concern with that than the crowd when there's two bathrooms for that quantity of people.
They're gonna have porta potties, 12, 14 porta potties.
Oh, it'd take, with that many people, 12, 14 porta potties, they need more than that. Ask the JC and the Fair Board. We get 40 down there.
Okay.
It'd take a bunch of them. It just for, it works, you know, you get that many people and you just have to have that many.
Okay.
So, that, you know, COVID aside, that's my thoughts, that concern. Sanitation, I guess I'd call it.
That's why I said in the motion, it's not just a COVID issue, it's a public health and safety issue.
Yeah. So, as far as, I guess I'd say I'd recommend following your steps in the letter, including the sanitation, the city sanitation. Put you on the spot, sanitation wise. Tom, how was that? Does that have anything? Right.
I'd just start by saying that we've had many of discussions on this, myself, the mayor, chief of police, chief of Dillon Volunteer Fire Department, state building codes and fire codes, and it seems to me, which I certainly don't agree with, but they keep giving this extended, I don't know, temporary kind of exemption for him to keep operating. And keep in mind, this started last summer sometime. He's had numerous events in there, and now he's really up in the numbers, probably multiplied by 3 at least. And one of the things that hasn't been included in this is upgrading the restroom facilities within. Again, they just keep giving this extended
Who, when you say giving me, who is giving you extended?
State building codes.
I see.
So what I found out, and I'm sure the mayor would agree with me on this, as well as the chief of police and all the others that I mentioned, that this is really out of our hands at this point. It is difficult for us to do anything with it if state building codes is going to give him an occupancy permit with this temporary exclusion.
First I've heard of that. Go ahead.
County commissioners.
The city.
I mean, I was wondering who would have the authorities, right, or who needs to go talk to the state, apparently the state, at the state level, and say, bring something forward on our concerns. Would it be county commissioners, would it be the city of Dillon? I mean, because that just doesn't seem reasonable that they keep giving them a pass on this.
I agree.
So,
And keep in mind, I'll say it again, this started last summer. They've had numerous events. They have weekly events down there. I asked state building codes about the sanitation for what they're approved for right now, which is up to 300, and the 2 restroom facilities that are in that building. That building was designed for retail space to begin with. So the restroom facilities that are in there now don't even meet the occupancy for the 300 people. But yet, there's this kind of an open door policy that they say that as long as he continues to keep making progress, and they're okay with this. And they can temporarily use porta potties to get by with. I don't agree.
He has been making progress.
He has been making progress.
So they've just been letting
We
it
have to
go.
give him that.
Yeah.
Put a friendly amendment.
So who is counting, is no one is counting bodies or seating as safe occupancy? And no one's counting
They get all the coverage.
attendees? That's my comment. Is
Well, the thing is the city of Dillon has zoning codes, but this doesn't fall under zoning. We do not have a building inspector, so we have no authority to enforce any of it. County doesn't have a building inspector, so they have no
We're talking
authority.
about something a little bit different here. The confusion of building code enforcement. So anything commercial is up to the state's responsibility for, I guess I wouldn't even say enforcement now, knowing what I know. It's up to the state to inspect those facilities.
Tom, do you think it would help at all if the Board of Health wrote a letter to the state board, whomever this agency is, and say that we would request that the state address this issue in a more permanent fashion, or, in other words, quit giving these temporary passes? I mean, do you think that
I
would?
certainly don't think it hurt, and it would put something on the record.
But we also looked into it. We don't have the authority to enforce any of it. And it comes down to pretty much, we've looked into it, had the city attorney look into it, and it pretty much comes down to either the county attorney or the attorney general. They can enforce. So it comes to the county, they can enforce the stuff if they believe things were not done right. Now, can they stop the stuff? I don't know.
But if state building codes gives him a certificate of occupancy, whether that's on a temporary basis, there isn't much we can do about it.
Yeah. So you say state building codes, is this a board, is this an individual?
It's, I guess you'd call it a board. I mean, it's part of Montana Department of Labor and Industry.
And I guess if I could, since I put a motion on the floor suggesting that this board was in opposition to this event, perhaps add an amendment to that, suggesting that the Beaverhead County Board of Health could write a letter, and I would be inclined to write it to whatever the building code agency, and also CC that to what, the Attorney General? I mean, just to try to say this is untenable going
Just to
forward.
say that we don't support it,
Yeah.
this board does not support it.
I mean, I think that's all we can do at this point.
And we don't have to act like we're the judge and jury, it's just we're placing this, coming back at this extinction.
Correct.
Yeah, they need to address this and get this fixed one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that-
or how long does this temporary, whatever you want to call it, exemption or approval, how long does this last?
Exactly.
I mean, it's been going on for a year already.
Does the board understand the, better yet, Cindy, can you read that, kind of what we have here?
Okay. Charlotte's initial motion was to go on record that the Board of Health is opposed to this event from a public health and safety standpoint. Megan seconded, and then much discussion. And then Charlotte amended that motion that the Board of Health, or added to the motion, I don't know how you want it, that the Board of Health write a letter to the state agency and CC the Attorney General stating that the board does not support their decision to give temporary permits for the Frontier Event Center.
That kind of, in short.
Yes, well, yeah, and ask, just encourage the state building, whatever this board is, to
Look into
finalize, or how can I put it on?
Encourage them to finalize.
Well, or to come down and read.
Come up with a solution to this problem rather than
Yeah.
continuing to give temporary.
Tom, could you
To
help?
finalize their occupancy permit rather than keeping it under a temporary
Yeah.
status.
There you go.
You know, want to bring up another note, I'm a longtime member of Beaverhead Ambulance. We had our monthly meeting and we discussed this a little bit also, actually in quite detail, because with the way that the ambulance sits right now, we are staffed, which is a very good thing, at 24 hours a day now, with a 2-member crew. And you add 900 people to this, and, you know, the conditions of this event may be hazardous in themselves. This can be quite a problem for emergency medical services. You know, if we ended up, which we do all the time with that service, with one of those crew members and ambulances out on a, say, a transfer to Missoula, which happens constantly, then we're down to very, very limited resources. And it's not saying that we can't handle something like that, because we do it with other events such as Labor Day. It's just the fact that nobody has contacted this agency. And, you know, I'll throw the thing in there too, with Dillon Volunteer Fire Department, which I'm a member of also. And I'll speak a little bit for Dillon Police Department and the Sheriff Department. You know, there's no planning on this. So it really puts the people that are going to be attending this event and this community at risk.
Can we limit the denial for the 900 requests and not the 300? Not to totally get rid of it temporary, but to leave it and say we're disagreeing with the 900, but not the 300.
Well, I just think they need to fix the problem. I don't care what the number is. They need to
It's
decide.
kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to make the final decision on the full occupancy of that building.
And demand that be done.
And demand the completion of it.
And they're doing that, truthfully, they gave them a phase, so now they've actually set into a contract to say, and they let them approach it by phases. Phase one was the safety side of things that everybody was worried about. He's approaching the phase one part of it. Okay, and that was where the 900 would go into play, was phase one. He's done the safety side of things. Phase two was the restrooms. And after that happens, the way it sounds like, then it's going to be a permanent if he meets those. So they are working towards this permanent, and they have a plan laid out to handle permanent.
I'm still just gonna go back to that. This started last summer, and there's
And they
been
get-
events going on in there.
For 300, this is the first one that went big, 900.
But even, I'm gonna stress that, even for the 300 occupancy, according to state building codes, the restroom facilities do not even meet that.
Agreed, and he addressed that. I mean, I think you ought to just be careful where we go on some of this.
But we're not demanding it, we're just asking about it.
And that's true.
Way in the back, Sadie,
I think Tim Martinell has a question.
oh, excuse me. Tim, go ahead.
So, Tom or Mayor Clacken, who will the board be contacting? Will you make sure that they have a name so that it doesn't get lost somewhere, like if a specific person, that it would be, this letter would be addressed to?
So it needs to be addressed to Paul Drake at Montana State Building Codes. And I would say also Pat Clinch at Deputy State Fire Marshal.
I can't hear who you said.
Paul Drake, Montana State Building Codes.
Okay.
And Pat Clinch with, he's the Deputy State Fire Marshal. Welcome.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I do want to go back to what Mike was saying about the numbers. Oh, that is a concern. That is a big concern for public health as far as the safety aspect. The guy, I can't remember his first name. Anyway, he did say he could go down to 700, but that was the lowest he could go because he breaks even at 700. And he had mentioned in email that we agreed to that, and that is not true. We did not agree to any number of people, but that's still too many. 700 is still too many in that building. So I think that is an issue, even if he still gets the building permit for whatever it is.
Sue or Tom, isn't there just some general guideline or room X number of square feet allows X number of people?
That's where he gets the number
Yeah.
from, the building code
Yeah.
inspector.
That's where he gets it, yeah.
But I guess we can go on. He still hasn't, like Mike said, he hasn't submitted any plan on how he's going to do this. He was going to strongly recommend masks and do all this social distancing, and we talked about some things he could do, but nothing's been submitted.
So I have, everybody understand the motion on the floor? Okay, I got a motion on the floor, and I'll just ask for all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign? Hearing none, motion passed to draft a letter to inquire about the process of the building inspection, building code. This extension that Tom, we can get the correct spelling of clinch and cinch and that kind of thing from Tom. So, okay,
Who's going to write the letter?
who will write the letter? We'll get together on that. We'll figure that out. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I won't be long, but, and it wouldn't affect your motion. But I want to ask the board, who has the statutory authority to shut this down? Do you know?
Doesn't sound like there is one.
We don't know that. We aren't asking that.
Well, I am. And the reason I am is the mayor has the authority.
Well, that,
But here's the problem. He will get sued. And if this body
he's got big shoulders.
was supporting the mayor's position all this time, he'd be in a lot better position to exercise that authority. Right now, he can't do it because there's been so much, these are my personal feelings, there's been too much personal infighting over all the instances of this pandemic, and it hasn't been recognized that he has this authority. Now is too late to jump in and do this. I wouldn't either, Mike. You know that. But that's where it rested. So even without the ordinances and the other controls, he could have done something about this, but now it's too late. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get that some letter drafted up and get that sent off to the proper channels and Tom can give us the addresses and that kind of thing. Okay, next, I got approval of the minutes of the February 17th, 2021 County Health Authority. I didn't see any hands.
Okay.
Anybody public comment up here? None. None. Okay. Approval of the minutes, February 17th. Need a motion to approve, or is there any corrections to the minutes?
I have one correction.
Go ahead.
Suggestion. At the point near the end of the meeting, if I remember correctly, Mr. Warner got up and made a statement, more of a request for authority on doing, and I can't remember exactly the whole, but it was, and it has a response, and Nicole responded to it, but didn't really have a statement in there, what did he request?
Is this the one here, George Warner asked if the places that will be mandating masks have the authority to do so? Nicole stated UMW here.
Is that the request?
Yeah, it was,
I think Sheriff Kraft answered it.
yeah, well, Nicole answered from
On behalf of Weston.
her perspective on the college. What I requested as a FOIA request was that it be disseminated at the next meeting. If someone, an agency had an autonomous authority to mandate masks, that we know where it came from at this meeting and how the public would know that.
Okay. And this is sufficient wording here or not?
Just that it was to be made available at this meeting. For instance, I'm going to ask later in the meeting where the authority from the college came from.
She answered that
She
last
answered
time.
it right here.
She
Comes
said
from
it.
That
the
wasn't the,
Montana University.
what I asked for as a FOIA request was that it be disseminated how that is. In other words, the city's got an ordinance. I can go look at that ordinance. It's not what Nicole says, it's what is the university policy and how is it derived? The high school can do the same thing, the grade school can do the same thing. Those are the only ones that I'm aware of that has that authority. So, that's what I'm asking.
Well, with Nicole not present, well, is this sufficient? Nicole's not here to retract her.
Okay.
So with that said, we could post next meeting. I'm sure there'll be another one when Nicole's here to possibly bring forward a
That would
sheet of
be fine,
paper.
and I'll address the issue later in the meeting too.
All right. Okay.
If I understand the question correctly, I could probably answer that question.
that defines.
What
Go ahead,
gives the
Bill.
university authority to regulate mask wear? Is that your question, George?
Yes, but what I'm asking is, it's got to be codified or disseminated in a way.
Well, let me answer. So the question is for our Facebook friends, what gives the university authority to regulate mask wear? And it's actually the Constitution that gives the Board of Regents authority to regulate everything that happens on college campuses, which is why you see students, faculty, and staff wearing masks, because that is what the Board of Regents has decreed. So it is actually part of the Montana Constitution that gives the Board of Regents that authority.
Thanks, Bill. Okay. Okay. I need a motion to accept the minutes as written at this time. All in favor, say aye.
But we need a mo-
Pardon me?
Who moved and who seconded?
Who moved? You got me?
Charlotte.
Did Charlotte?
I didn't, but I will.
Thank
Charlotte?
you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Megan second. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, I have a first and a second to approve the minutes of the February 17th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Motion passed. Okay, and then public discussion comments on subjects under Board of Health jurisdiction not on the agenda. Go ahead, George.
Okay, this will be a continuation of what we just got through. Again, it's a process question, and the reason I'm being such a stickler on this is this board has certain responsibilities to make this information available to the public. I yesterday contacted the Commissioner of Higher Education at roughly 3:20 in the afternoon. This morning, the Chief Legal Counsel for the college addressed me before 9 o'clock with an email explaining the mask policy of the university system. Now, whether or not I believe that's complete, they responded to my request immediately. If I go to City Hall and ask Mike for that same information, there will be an employee that will immediately stop what they're doing and find me the information that I can either answer that question myself, or they will provide an answer for me. That's what I'm asking this body to do. When I put the appeal in, I made those requests for information. That should be available to you. You should be able to respond very quickly with that information so that if I have further questions, we can go into that, or it will answer my questions. So that is the process aspect that I am concerned about, and we need to clear up whether you need more help or whatever the issues are. That's why I make some of these requests. I want to understand it and represent it honestly and clearly. I'm further going to talk to the Commissioner of Higher Education this afternoon. We both had these meetings this morning, and we'll clarify some of the rest of the policies. I never said that certain entities didn't have the authority to do things, but sometimes it takes further action to where they can exercise that authority. And that's what I'm trying to do, to impress upon this board, that if that authority is available to you, you're able to use it. The other thing that I wanted to bring to the attention to the board was the presidential proclamation that started. We have talked numerous times about contact tracing and the HIPAA Act. If anyone has read the presidential proclamation, it specifically allows the Health and Human Services Secretary to suspend that. It has been suspended since the enactment of the proclamation on March 1st of 2020. It's right in there. His proclamation has that much information that says what they can do. And basically, it was a funding mechanism so that they could react to the pandemic. And it was furthermore, it suspended those privacy rights so that contact tracing could be used more usefully. We should have known that a long time ago, and it would have made the job a lot easier. Everybody has their separate political beliefs, but that's what the president said. And he was trying to alleviate some of those issues in the pandemic. So it's available. The proclamation number is 9994. President Biden extended that on February 24th, roughly 2 weeks ago. I misrepresented that he couldn't 6 weeks ago when we last met. And the reason I did so is the Federal Registry is written so poorly on that statute that it gave a 90-day period of time. I have no idea why, but any time within the last 90 days, the president can extend it, which he did. The previous interpretation was because there's 90 days there, it had to be extended before that, or it would expire, and that's not the case. But if you want to see this presidential proclamation, it's 9994. That's all you have to do is Google that, and you can read it. It's less than 2 pages. Thank you.
Okay. Meeting scheduled, we have one next meeting tentatively, April 16th. Does that still work? We'll leave that word tentatively in there. Okay. Under new business, there's something new out there. Seeing none, I would like to again thank the University of Montana Western for providing this place and Bill for his expertise with the speakers, the tech work. And Sadie, thank you for helping me with the Zoom.
Can I ask you guys about how many were on Zoom? About? 10. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to adjourn? Second? Adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.